Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Joanna, and we're a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful beach. And I wanted to do something just kind of off the cuff and a bit more raw and a bit more intimate. I wanted to talk to those of you that have gone through profound life changes with transitions in relationships, transitions in your home, um, and how to meet those challenges with what is unique and graceful for you. Everyone has their own unique homeostasis point on what feels loving and honoring and treasuring. Um, we're meant to rebuild that because most come from very dysfunctional homes. They come from very dysfunctional patterns. We're rebuilding the social norms to be higher integrous, to be higher benevolently caring for one another and gentleness for one another and our land and the animals. So in every way that you have a transition, celebrate it for a really great moment that you get to rebuild and renegotiate yourself with creation and with the creators. Many of you that have come to play, various parts in the creative and the collective rebuilding will have more of a voice, if you will, because you've gone through so much and your voice is important for those that are trying to navigate their way around many difficult, really powerful, challenging things. And so know that it's not impossible to move through what you move through with the Alliance of Light. Anything is possible, and you've got that support and help with you. Um, I wanted to be a bit more personal on, kind of my experience because I've talked a bit about the spiritual side of what occurred to me because I'm a spiritual teacher, and for many many years, those of you that know me from way back in the KCOR days, um, I've always been my teaching and my offering has always been as teacher first. I present everything, even if it's in my own personal life, I presented it as a teaching moment. And because it's offered to me from other lifetimes, and it's just the role that I've accepted and stepped into. And I knew that really early on. I've played the part of a leader and a team lead in most of my other jobs and careers, whether it be with the bank or the government. And it's just been those roles that I've played and always taking on that leadership role. But it's a bit different when you're moving through something so emotionally traumatic that kind of implodes everything that you were as a child and all of those childhood wounds and all of the dynamics of your lifetimes. As an empath, you can feel the various lifetimes that come forward for that purging and recognition and integration. As an empath and a conduit, um, speaking vibrationally, I'm looking at it as a vibrational compass. It's far more challenging and it takes far greater strength to move through those cyclical purges of timelines because we can feel those timelines. Often I've been shown right into those timelines on what they look like, um, and glimpses of that pain. And because it's so deep and it's so traumatic, and you're wondering why your feeling of abandonment or betrayal in this timeline, although it might not seem as traumatic as what you've given that vision to, but your guides allow you to see into those glimpsing timelines so you can understand why it feels so scattered and so hectic and so profoundly dense and traumatic. That's why your body has to rebuild itself through, and why your teams really won't show you into those experiences unless you need that understanding and where those other people play those roles. For me, because of the dark karmic roles between the groups that were doing the black magic and the many different the galactic timelines and the planets that they come from, some of it is multiverse. They come from a very it's a very egoic human fight or flight safety, you know, first, second, and third chakras. That's the element that those beings live from, and their safety is all that they can see beyond. And so it's when you're in the understanding of, as you're raising your vibration, we're going to do a whole video about it later, but how everybody is coded, how everybody is put together with their DNA, what they get activated on, what wounds they're coming from, their lineage and their akash. They showed me a vision in one of my private classes one time, is that if you can see that when the veils drop, those before you will have different bodies and masks because they'll be living out the galactic contracts that they chose to live, to come forward and play out and heal. And many of them are not used to the human emotional experience. and why you sometimes get in those contracts with those that don't have a lot of emotional experience, or they're emotionally immature. They're not emotionally stretched in the conscience that it takes when harm is done, because they've had so much experience in those galactic planetary experiences, living very egoically, if you will. And we say egoically from the first, second, and third chakras, if you will, because it's all about safety, fight or flight, resources, claiming resources, getting resources, and then of course the dogma on our planet, and our political systems, our financial systems, self motivate those beliefs and those triggers, if you will. They're all the encoding of how they've come, how they've, the reptilian coding, the draconian coding, the gray coding. All of those are certain types of galactic codings that absolutely play out in their human behavior. Then there's those that are also have those codings, because everybody has reptilian, everybody has draconian, everybody has the Pleiadian, everybody has all of these galactic seeds within them. It's just a matter of what percentages are playing out based on the universal harmonizing of the universal ascension. I know that I can see it, and it's those even hard for those that don't know anything about ascension, that don't know anything about the multiverse, that don't know anything about the galactic ascension. Those that play out in very greed, surface, superficial based lives don't tend to care or see or even feel the damage that is done to others, because they're living from a completely different coding. I mean, it doesn't make it right or wrong, and it's not giving anybody excuses, but we have to understand that, and I kind of do. What was happening with me, and they were showing me that some of the contracts I took on was to give heart-centered activations to those that had come to play out those contracts, and I knew that, and I did my very best. I was always maintaining unconditional love and kindness and offering to activate them in their heart space, so that many of these beings and many of these lineages and many of these species could activate their heart chakras and the emotional bodies. And then it's up to each person to do their own inner work, and it's up to each person to do their own inner healing. But as a divine feminine, when we come through our collective challenges, when there's nothing been really prepared for us, the role models that we've ever been taught or told or shown, even in today's modern times, there's maybe a handful of them on our planet that we can remember that are beautiful divine feminines that have stood in that role of creator, leader, divine, strong healer. And why many of divine feminines are being asked to really look at their lives and their relationships and their homes and what means value and those core values to them, and how to really really go within and start making themselves the center of their own universe. Make yourself that center of your own plan, because it's been encoded in us to surrender it and give default to the outer roles and the outer subjugations and the outer oppressions and the outer conformities. Those of us that are standing up and being leaders and healers, those of us that are standing up and speaking truth, it does bring a lot of fear to those companies and corporations and the ways that our systems have been run for thousands and thousands of years, especially when we're intuitively locked in, because they absolutely know, with many of the secret temple libraries that are still being kept under lock and key by the controlling systems, and it's not an us or them, and it's not a versus, it's no conspiracies. These are just how that we've hidden information from the collective, so that the collective will remain somewhat asleep. But all of those are coming to forward now, especially with the more light ships and the collective knowing that, yes, we've always had celestial and higher vibrational beings with us at all times. So there's less and less being hidden. And it really comes to bear, part of my personal journey was to offer the little stories and the little glimpses into my life, and how beautiful it was, how beautiful my life really is, how much I've been offered a very unique contract in which the divine knows how much was placed against me, that most would not walk through, most would not even attempt. And there's days that I have to process how big that journey was, how big the contracts were that I walked through, how much I had taken on for the collective and the divine feminine, how much I had taken on for my lineage and for the beautiful family that I come from, the beautiful royal family that I come from, that many ancient cycles of light work, many ancient cycles of the Gaia experience, and really being that living advocate for Gaia and life, and all aspects of our alchemy with creation, because that's what it's about. Those that can be adversaries and advocates for life, being that gentle symbiosis of life, and how we can move with grace, and how we can move with um, with unilateral beauty and harmony. And those of us that have chosen to take on difficult contracts in any way, you've had to go through as a divine feminine. And this goes for any masculine that's also wanting to tap into and heal their divine feminine based on whatever you were shown in your home as a divine feminine. What roles models do you have as divine feminine? Start feeling those aspects, because there's many divine masculines that watch that have very warped and skewed experiences of the divine feminine, simply because there was nobody shown. And usually the home experience was very dysfunctional and imbalanced, just based on the social imbalances, the roles and the definitions and imbalances that we're all purging and remaking right now, which they told me was really big over the next 6 months, is still those polarity and those roles. But as far as my own personal experience, one of the biggest and the most harmful experiences for me, and moving through abuse and moving through trauma, the trauma of the abuse, was that exact experience. Those that were chosen to be bid against me and pit against me was done from a very psychologically callous and malicious, intentional way. It was a psychological bullying, in which, even if you were just one or two in the home, and you could feel it in the background, or you can feel it in the community, or you can feel it in what's going on behind the scenes, because as an empath and a conduit, you can feel everything that's going on behind the scenes. And when you're speaking it, and there's no physical proof, then it's even more of a skewed and toxic story, because those involved just feed into that, because they know what they're doing, and the gang stalkers are very skilled, and they've been very trained, and they're very, they negotiate those dark areas, and they want that person to feel more and more skewed in their perspective. I mean, it's a very sick it's a very sick experience. And when you're going through it alone and there is nobody else to talk to, because not only is there no 5D counselors, there's no 5D, people that would understand Akashic timeline healing. They wouldn't understand what I know, because I'm above in that level of psyche availability on what they can see and what they can know about the person's woundings. But for me, as a normal human mother and a normal human divine feminine, the depths and the levels of what was ripped and taken from me is something that I can't even explain. How damaging the trauma and the bullying and the constant, still relentless stalking now, the relentless spell taking that's still going on now. These Spirit has assured me that everything that is being sent back now, so they're actually receiving everything they send and intend for me. So I'm not worried about it affecting me anymore, because I've learned how to, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and there's legions that are surrounding me in my protection. So I'm not worried about that anymore. But I'm processing now the depths and the levels of trauma that were intentionally caused. And in knowing and growing up, as to heal some of that is to know and to grow up throughout your entire life as to the path that you've walked, and knowing what you came with, as far as being a very creative and beautiful and genuine and authentic, beautiful, divine little girl who had to go up against conformed environments, had to go up against dysfunctional environments, especially when you've come very heightened and very enhanced. Nobody telling you what energy is about, nobody coaching you on energy, nobody understanding or even telling you stories about how to protect yourself if and how to discern black magic, and how to know that there's other energies and entities that are playing with you, and so on and so forth. I mean, obviously none of that was ever brought into my existence, but there was so much that was hidden behind the veils, because of the underground work, the hidden work, the groups behind the doors throwing the rocks and then hiding, all of the little games and the schemes that they do to play on your psyche, to play on your emotional, your mental, your spiritual body. And then the group work that's done to intentionally work on your energy field and work on your business platforms, your social platforms, your subscribers, all of those things. And I can assure you too that Spirit has protected all of my subscribers. So Spirit knows what Spirit's doing because they see exactly who's doing what and the games that are being played. I went through all of those things because there was so many aspects of that experience. And I know for my subscribers, please forgive me if any of my experiences and you're sick of hearing about the same situations, because it's what the collective is going through. So I'm not going to stop, and I'm not going to pull back from bringing forward the ongoing teachings and the ongoing purgings, because the collective is going through it. There are so many women that are living with narcissism and they don't have a way out, and they haven't sorted that out yet. There's so many women that have been brought up with narcissistic homes and woundings that don't have anybody to go to because they're just starting to understand what narcissism is. I didn't really understand narcissism until it was probably far too late. I'd never even heard the word, and I had to look it up just as I was selling my house in Calgary. That's the first time I had heard about narcissism, because I had grown up with it. It wasn't something that I knew about. It was just how I was always, in those environments. And narcissists know that, and they use that. Unfortunately, narcissism is a very sick disorder, and it's about the wounding of itself. I call it the not my fault disorder. That's what narcissism is. It's nothing is ever their fault, and because they were so wounded in their childhood, everything that occurs to them is never their fault, and they seek to feed off of those wounds because they're so harmful in facing. Because they were traumatic, whether it be sexual abuse, whether it be trafficking, anything like that. Those are not my fault disorders. And of course, all the children being trafficked now on the planet is just creating more and more cycles of narcissism, because they're a damaging wound on many, many multidimensional levels. And then they seek those to play out, those that are beautiful and pure at heart and loving and kind and want to help heal them. And not empaths have never really been taught how to protect and honor themselves, how to create a self-serving life and a self-designing life, because you have that sense of self that's been warped because of all the corruption you see outside of you, all the adults that are lying to you, all the elephants in the room that never get resolved. And we end up going through life like this. And so many of my clients, and I've loved you over the years, that have gone through your own personal life stories and your own personal, moving through your own home transitions and what's going on in your home and the personal relationships and how those shift and change, and how to maintain what is important for you. How can you bring all of your reflections and your observations throughout your time and redesign your life around who you are? What is important for you? What is valuable for you? What is not being nourished and connected with? That connection with you and source and spirit and your world around you, as we talk about in our vocational sessions, those are always the top 3 keys for healing. Your connection with spirit and the higher self and the sacred trinity, the connection with your collective and Gaia, and the connection with those that you come with are those connections. The Gaia and your collective, that's the sacred trinity. That's why you're here to offer and be and explore and express who you are as the human experience. But in that, there's a lot of, again, that minutia, that 3 to 5D minutia, and you begin to learn more about who you are in nourishing and honoring yourself through that emotional stage of healing, and how to clear your karmas by living in your highest truth as often as you can. Karma is not about being perfect in every moment that you have to make a choice. It's doing the best that you can based on what you've been through and showing spirit, I've done the best that I can, but I can no longer deal with this. It's unreasonable, it's unhealthy, it's so very harming to my energies now that I'm more sensitive, and why I've had to place those boundaries and those rules. And everybody is different. Their level of normal and their level of boundaries is unique and different to each person, and why those healing journeys are going to be really unique. And set those boundaries that are good for you. And why I wanted to come on and have just a divine feminine, really open, raw mic mic night, I guess, an open mic. Have to find a bag. those of us that are meant to play the big creative roles and help inspire women that anything is possible, regardless of what abuses you've been through. And the same with men, if you've been through abuses and you have people in your environment that are manipulating, you have people in your environment that are deceitful, you have people in your environment that do spell work, you have people in your environment that hold things over your head. Those are all toxic ways that you deplete and deconstruct a sense of self. Anyone that and this goes for younger women too, so please share this with all of those that are younger women trying to sort out who they are. Really empower them and inspire them and encourage them to create that sense of self so that they don't have any need to alter their bodies, alter their sense of self, alter their expression or who they are, to maintain their own sense of self and their dreams and their creativity. They never ever have to look outside of them for that proof and that validation, because those are the inner woundings. How can I look for validation? How can I look for my values? How can I look for my importance? And part of what was so hard and challenging for me is that I was doing all the work. You know, I was being the best person that I could be in every way that I could, emotionally and physically, and maintaining jobs and doing my spiritual work every day. And spirit knows everything that every second that I am. Spirit is, because spirit's always with me and connected. Spirit knows how much I pray to the planet. Spirit knows how much I pray for others, and how much light work I do, how much alchemy I do. The good deeds that I do. If people can't afford to see me, I give sessions for free, and all of the good works that I do, as much as I do, as often as I can. And I help people with all of my free videos that there's very few, if anybody, on the internet and on the web right now that give as much free high vibrational content and wisdoms and informations that have never been talked about before, that have never been offered before, that are really the highest vibrational healing tools that we have. And I offer it. I rarely receive donations. There's been those that have been doing the malicious crimes against me, have been blocking and stalking and rewiring monies. My YouTube channel has not grown over 6 years. And when I go and look at it on my phone and other devices, it says I have no views, but if you click on it, there's views. So there's stuff that are going on behind the scenes, and there's been people and governments and bodies and peoples that are watching me because I do have a powerful sense of truth. They know that I'm aligned with spirit. They know that I've moved through various levels and phases of new levels, new devils, if you will. And I've moved beyond them, and I've been protected through all of them because I do speak the highest levels of alchemy. And they know now that I'm walking with source. They're not sure why it had to be proven for so long, and I'm not sure why they had to test me and put me through the levels of rigor that I went through psychologically. Was insane. I've seen the darkest belly of humanity, psychologically, physically and mentally and spiritually. And when I'm rebuilding myself, the teams are slowly taking those deep psychological wounds from me, because they are attached to those timelines where deep traumatic abuse was had that I wouldn't be able to explain to anybody. They've given me just snapshots of what it looked like and how I've connected those people that are deeply traumatized because they've held very dark roles, and they're not being accountable for the wounds that they're holding and seeking the appropriate healing. There's many psychological imbalances, mental imbalances that these people have, that they're not seeking the proper care because of all the black magic that has been done. They're even more imbalanced psychologically, not being in consistent alignment with their reality, which is a lot of underground cult work. It really degrades the sense of self. The spirit is warped in every way when you create those gang-like, group-think like polarities in the collective consciousness. What can you walk around with good conscience? Are you wishing people goodwill, or do you want nothing but hate and pain for them and poverty? And so there's those that have been so chewed up, if you will, by the cult-like the very, very misogynistic, degrading masonry groups that are active in a lot of the social programming, and how they attack and target, and the things that are done create such mental disorders, imbalances, diseases, um, the mental spuity of who they are within their social experience, and the crimes that are committed. There's so much there. I've seen the very darkest belly of it. I have a lot of healing tools to help humanity in that, because that's what's going to be needed when a lot of these underground corruptions, the underground trafficking, all of those things that come forward, there's a psychological belly to it, and it's got to be healed. Where do those wounds come from? Why would anybody want to be a part of a cult? Where's that first wound? And it's always in that sense of self. That sense of self is not there, it's not fed, it's not nourished, and it's being fed in corrupt ways, because that's the devil temptation. Those, again, those are those energies of, we called it sins, but they're just experiences where they get to experience that rush of energy. Some of those people have very high vibrational acuity to energy, but they feed it in warped ways because they've come from warped dysfunctional beliefs, or they've seen sexual dysfunction in their homes, they've seen abuse in their homes, and that's how they feed it, is through that warped sexual dysfunction. And then they try to design themselves and nourish themselves from a very warped perspective, and it just goes in cycles of degradation. And then they find those, and those of us that have those soul contracts, to be those light and those pillars and those guides for them. And then it goes into very abusive, imbalanced, toxic experiences, which is unfortunately what happened to me. I was married and with a person for about 28 of my years, and I'm just over 50 something. So it's half of my life that I was with this person and knowing them. I've been estranged. I have been celibate for about 13 years. And I've been estranged for about 8 since we decided to separate and get divorced. And it just took a really bad and horrible turn when that all started to go into process, because there was many things going on underneath the rug, that when I would bring it to the forefront and begin talking about it and begin saying what I was seeing and sensing and what I was being shown and what I was being given by spirit, there was that deflection and projection. And when I would try to create closure, and when I would try to stand up for myself, and when I would try to go forward and create that sense of balance for myself, to call in those only ways that I knew how, the legal process and reaching out and doing the right thing as being guided by spirit, at every single step I was met with being ripped back by spell casting, confusion, warped responses, delayed responses, schemes and scams, my mail going missing, paperwork being withheld, monies being withheld, trickery, theft, seeing footprints around my house. So I've moved a few times so that I'm not in the area. This all happened in Calgary. And there's many corruptions that are in Calgary that will be coming to the forefront. And that's when spirit started showing me that a lot of the corruption is threaded to a lot of other things within our collective, many of the corruptions that are now being unearthed. And it's a natural progress. It's just a part of awakening. It's not anything to get, all surprised about. We all know that these things have been happening, just like the withholding from our celestial and alien families. The governments can withhold it all they want, but we absolutely know that there is corruption. We absolutely know that there are celestial UFOs, light ships, because we see them. Those of us are ambassadors to that first contact. We're ambassadors to the healing of the corruption, because there is a mess. There's a huge psychological, dysfunctional, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual mess. And so everybody has to kind of look at, where does the mess start from in their own lives? I'm just bringing this forward as a collective burp, a collective purge. And in my own life, I had to see it from many different perspectives, because I am here to help the collective heal the many fractals of that crystal. And it's a mess. How narcissism and the gang stalking and the bullying, and in my one particular case, I now feel more free and more liberated, because I'm seeing what I went through as, I was watching this beautiful guy the other day, and he was saying, wow, what you've been through, you really deserve a trophy. Not many would believe what I've been through, and not anybody. And this is what's kind of sad when you look to your collective, to have that kind of camaraderie. very few in the collective have supported me. And even though I've given countless unconditional offerings, countless healings, countless free sessions, countless toning, I mean, I've the things that I have given, and that's what spirit knows. But when I shared my stories of torture, you know, the physical ramifications of the years and years and constant tactics of spell work and targeting, they play on somebody to the point where they're not feeling normal in any environment. And the only way you feel most normal is at the sea, you know, in my case, because I carry a big field. I carry a lot of energy with me, and a lot of that energy is smoothing out, and it's being purified and rarefied by the day, which means that those traumas, and I've had to rebuild from the ground up. How I connect with myself within is like night and day how it used to be. And these people don't care. The people that have harmed me and hurt me, a few of them were fake clients that were sent to me, and they still watch and gang stalk. They're still stalking me, and they're still checking to see, you know, as I talked about in that mind scraping video, which is really important for those of you that are also being targeted, to watch that video, just to have the more aware you are, the more information you have. Wisdom is your power. And then you get to know how to protect your fields, how to discern the red flags, how to take charge and action on those red flags, how to keep speaking your truth, even if you're the only one speaking, because spirit will make it known one day that those that are speaking of truth and those true prophets are those true prophets. And even if there's 12,000 times more than one person that's been harmed, those 12,000 will absolutely be taking a knee. That's how powerful spirit is, somehow, some way. And that's what the creative collective is now seeing, that those of us that are truly standing in our power, those of us that always spoken truth, those of us has come with great power of healing, with great power of wisdom, with great power of being connected with the all that is, to help humanity in these progressive times, to help a divine feminine collective that has been suppressed for thousands of years. And we are profound healers of all the galaxies. And we've been so mistreated and abused. The average woman in every home, how she's treated, without it being a game of power. And that's what we have to learn. We have to really want to learn to create that beautiful balance and homeostasis. How children, the average child, is treated in a home, and the roles of the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and can it be honorous? Can it be beautiful? Can it be sacred? It's radical self-acceptance to see yourself in those integrations of your own soul fragments, that maybe you've played those roles in other realms, and integrating that and being compassionate and accepting it. What had happened to me was recently they've shown me is that the contracts that were natural part of the leaders and healers, as Jesus did, those challenges and those devotions to God are natural, and God will set those up, and God will allow certain things to take place, because you have to learn your own creative power. You have to learn how to maintain your energy. You have to learn how to maintain and master your emotional body. That's what a master is, mastering the emotional body, so that you're not harming from the power of the energy that you are. I mean, Jesus could have leveled anybody, but he didn't. He chose to be that master and move through those very traumatic, you know, experiences. And those are his tests. And we've all learned through them, because it never ever serves to harm or seek revenge. It always turns back to karma. And we all know that. That's just the 10 Commandments. And there's some that just don't understand it. They don't care. They just keep harming and hurting people. And those are the ones with those deep psychological wounds. And it's unfortunate that our systems and the corrupt systems that are in those corrupt systems, and some of these people that are in these masonry groups and underground cult groups and all of these people that do such things, they're all threaded in these systems that you think are justice and will bring you justice, right up to the lawyers and right up to the policing, and right, there's people threaded in it all. And the birds are bringing in their chanting. And so for my own experience, it was like hitting a brick wall, because when I would share it online, there was no support I had at all online, until my presence and my energy and my own healing was getting to the collective, and I was helping enough people online that it becomes now, if you look at any of the energy videos that are out there, there is a constant vibration of my voice and my experience in most of the videos, because I am a representation of the collective healings and the wounds that are being brought forward now for rebalancing. There are certain of us that play that collective role. And there are those of us that play those positions and those energies to help alchemize the collective debts, to help alchemize the collective stories, so that we have the voices to bring them forward and represent to the highest capacity that we can for those that have been forgotten, for those that couldn't make it, for the eons of women that were degraded and died and killed because of such targeting and bullying and everyday abuse, because of the eons of misogyny and really warped sense of power. And those are just people that don't understand energy. They don't understand alchemic laws. They don't understand hermetic laws. They're just coming from really dysfunctional, harmed homes. How women were treated in homes. Their beliefs about women. Because the true masonry groups, the true masonry groups and Templar groups, their core initial, those core initial ancient theories and ideals were never ever about separation. They never were. They've been warped and twisted because of the warped and twisted consciousness. And so anybody that feeds you those ideals and they feed into that male ego that wants to be fed importance and title and all of those things is again, it's a warped illusion. And many of those people are wounded in that way. They need that. And then they throw in pyramids and monies and schemes and biddings, which is what part of my experience was. There's people paying and buying money to see what could happen to me. How many spells could be placed against me? So put yourself in an experience, because this is the alchemy that I've cleared for so many women that got abused in different ways. I'm showing myself as part of the one that was helping you alchemize a lot of the divine feminine abuse. And I received no support. I didn't receive any support at all. Nobody holding my hand. Nobody showing me and sharing with me. Nobody's compassion on how much I was harmed. None. Not one counseling session, not that they would understand multidimensional healing, timeline healing, Akashic healing, because they don't. Not that they would understand black magic and targeting, because they wouldn't. But put yourself in a situation, just for pondering, of one woman with such a pure heart. If you look back on my early KCOR days, I'm still that same teacher and healer. So passionate about Gaia, so passionate about spirit, so passionate about who we are as multidimensional beings. That's still my passion. That will never ever go away. That's my imprint. That's my fingerprint with God. And then behind the scenes, because there's a few people that got angry and they saw that I was onto something. So not only were they angry because I just wanted to have my own life, I wanted to have peace, I wanted to have a sense of growth, I wanted to do my own thing. And because of that, those lack of selves and those wounds that were supposedly a part of the whole purpose of targeting me and creating doppelgangers to look like me and to try and act like me, and then the whole business created around it. And then while they were making money off of me, they did all the black magic to keep me confused and everybody else confused, and continuing the blasphemy stories about how I was crazy and how I was not fit to be a mother. And the stories in the community that were absolutely false. I'm a healer. I'm a teacher. I'm the one healing the children. I'm the one that ensuring that the light gets to the children. And there was daily spell work, people being paid, the voodoo doctors and the witches and the warlocks all getting together to decide and to scheme what kind of spells they would put on me, place my face in a jar and do chanting over me and mirror work and candle work to try and bind me to their karma, so that I would have to pay their karma, like God's not the one watching over this, so that I would have to be the one, even though I had everything taken from me and I had to move 2 or 3 times. I have to keep who I am under security, that nobody knows where I am. Not only did I lose everything, not only did my subscriber lists never ever grow. Neither did I ever get any payback and support and help on any level. Nobody's ever come to heal me or offer me anything. But I had to sit and I had to process all of the hate until I figured out a way to protect my fields and to protect who I was. I had to reclaim all of those energies and those harvesting schemes. And as an empath, seen orgies and group sex work to use my life force. Nobody knows the damage done to me. And I still get up to heal. I still get up to write. To say that there's really sick things that are going on. And people need to be accountable for the pain they cause others so that they can heal. Because unless there's accountability, the cycles continue. As an empath, as a crystalline child, I could see and I could feel the fairies playing in the gardens and bringing joy and laughter to all the children. And I could see the hateful things that people send me to make me go. Because I speak truth and I'm a power. I have faced every devil of gluttony and greed and the sins of warped sense of sexuality, degrading divine feminine and children. I've seen it. As an empath and a seer, it's felt and it's seen because it's a part of God that I had to accept to heal the collective. And not one person has reached out to say sorry, to return money stolen, to make anything right. I am a part of a very, very ancient sacred family on this planet of the Most High. As a divine feminine, as a goddess, as a queen from many heavens. I have been treated so horribly. And every time I reached out to claim a bit of self-empowerment and self-righteous rewriting of my path, there was the equal group of their hatred and anger for how dare I stand up for myself and speak truth, because it triggered their wounds even further. And the rituals and the ceremonies and the scams to make sure that I would never receive. Spells to make me not receive love. Spells to make me look fat. Spells to make my hair fall out. Spells to make me live in poverty. Spells that I would never receive. Do you understand the deep psychology and the pain? How could anyone wish such hate? I've received nothing except my oneness with God. There's no donations, no hands, no nothing. And I'm a very sacred being. I've walked with Isis, I've walked with Jesus. Not one person has reached out to me to give in any way. That's one of my soul lessons, is to know that regardless of what people will ever choose not to give me, that I receive everything from God. And that's been the most challenging to heal. That as much as a healer, as Jesus did, as much as the healer gives, you just might not ever receive anything from those that are so wounded, that you're here to help heal. And not only are you probably never going to receive, but you're going to be given a lot of hate and damages and blocks because they just don't want you speaking truth. Because they'd have to face the systems they created and the harm that they've done. And so that's up to the heavens to work that out. Because the imbalances, just as divine feminine being suppressed and not being allowed to vote at all of those things, those cycles will end. The cycles of abuse are over. But there's days where I process it, I have to. My disappointment has been in the lack of care when I've given so much. But that's, I can feel proud about that. Because I know I've done it all by myself. Spirit knows, oh my God, I can't believe you've done this all by yourself. All that you need is God. So I know divine feminine. I know abuse. I know the love of God that can take you through that. For you to put on a brave face for your children, because you don't want them to know the imbalanced toxicity that is behind the carpets and behind the doors, while you're being made to look as the one that is wrong and imbalanced. And the delays in the court, when you just simply want a divorce to get away from those sick energies, because it's your human and spiritual right. And you're given nothing but delays and blocks and more games and more hiding and more people withholding. Discrimination on every level. And those women that didn't have the perseverance and the level of oneness with God in their own belief that I did. I understand discrimination. I understand the sexual traumas. And as a healer, I got to work through that and I got to process it. And I'm given so much. And I know how to call in those angels and clear out those fields and clear out the very smallest parts of the chakras that need that help. And so in those days where I'm releasing and letting go, I wanted to come on and just have a really raw session for divine feminine. We are divine goddesses from many ancient timelines and very sacred temples. And I know many of you as my clients, you've all had your experiences of being used and abused and misguided and misled, and you brought yourself back up and you realigned to center and you got back up and you got back out there to heal and help others. And I'm so very proud of you. I know how your hearts have hurt. I know how you've been lied to and deceived. And the black magic that we're all healing for our entire universe and our entire galaxy to transcend and transmute those energies of energy control. Divine feminine separation and the imbalances of divine feminine on our planet that ripple through the whole galaxy. We get to heal those. But my story, my one story that I share in similar a couple summers ago, when that young travel blogger was killed by her imbalanced boyfriend in a very similar space where there was 900 women that had gone missing and very little follow through and follow up on those 900 women. And these have been the stories of divine feminine that I've brought forward for some sort of connection with the collective. Divine feminine, it's time to wake up. We got to gather, divine feminine. We have to show our grandest, most profound hearts and share our stories, speak, share, move into the communities, share your stories, be brave and be courageous, and share the stories of those that are struggling. Those 900 women had nobody to speak for them. How could we let that be? They were your past children from other lifetimes. They're your future children of other timelines. How's that okay? So I empower all of you, no matter what you're going through. It's allowing you to go deeper and connect more deeper with who you are as source. And even though somebody might not show it, and they come on every day and they give you the profound teachings and healings, they're still part human. And they've done a lot of great work here. I've walked with the very best. And it's sad and disappointing to see that there's been nothing given to me. And I'm speaking for all the women that also felt the same. I'm speaking for all those women that died and nothing was given to them. The cheeks were turned. At some point, we're coming forward to make new systems, and I won't stand down. Be the very best that you can be in offering who you are with truth and rawness, and the capability to pull those stories forward so that you have future timelines and never have to live that. Pull those stories forward to say, this was my truth and I survived it. From very harmful people that were just so imbalanced and so unloved. So how can we make systems to help that, to help everybody? That was my story. And every day I process. And I look forward to the beautiful man that I will be with one day that will have nothing to do with my past, other than to have those compassionate stories and to hold me as I continue to transition through the darkness that was targeted and impaled in my devotion and in my initiations with God, so that I could stand and be a leader for the collective. Where have we lost our hearts? Every child matters, every voice matters. And I know that my energy makes a difference, my voice makes a difference, because I'm now seeing that as I present any of my videos, it's rolling out in the collective and people are being healed. So there's some big changes that are happening. Just to those that have the courage to stand forward and speak and create change and offer themselves in communities. I have to heal through that PTSD, and I stutter sometimes because that's soulful trauma. And so I want to say to Divine Feminine, this is like if you're just having that really great coffee with a girlfriend and you're just talking about, you know, my gosh, you've gone through that. I'm so proud of you for moving through that. How can I be there for you? How can I hold your hand while you're going through that? What do you need from me? You know, be that partnership with somebody that needs you. Reach out to people, humanity, reach out. Because that is what is healing. There's many experiences that I've had where I've helped pull people from suicide because I was that person that reached out. And nobody did that for me except for God. So thank God for God. It's been a very lonely ride here for me on this planet. I don't understand why people treat people the way they do. It's very, very disappointing. And that's part of my wound to heal. because it is part of the crucifixion of the Christ that I'm healing, for the lineages that I've come from, for divine feminine to stand up and know that we just require God. That's it. And as divine feminine healers, we're healing through our own compassion of our own stories. And capitalizing on your own stories, because that's why you've had those challenges, so you can capitalize on it. What did you learn? How can you share? How can you grow? How can you connect with others and more deeply and more honestly with you and the collective that's also going through these traumas, the various psychological things that I've had to move through and work through. And luckily I have my own intense rehealing program so that I can wake up the next day and feel motivated to write 10 pages of content to help the psychological healing for the collective that's always going through it. And my stuff will be put into books and my stuff will be put into papers and they'll be used. I know they will. That's why I'm writing. That's why I do it. It's a very sacred experience for me. So I'm taking that pain and that trauma, and I don't understand how anybody that considers themselves would ever do such things to people. And those people that still do what they're doing, I don't understand. And I just wish you nothing but peace. One other thing was the healing that goes into that is your equal intention to love yourself more, and God will match that. God knows the challenges, God knows the struggles, God knows, and God will send you anything that God can, because it's time for you to receive. So I know that too. I know that I've spent a lot of time without receiving. I've been here for 53 years. I'm working on a new youth program for myself. So I know that my body is becoming more youthful. My mind is becoming quicker and faster. So I know that I'm going through a regeneration and a rebirth. I know all of those things are being made up tenfold to me. That's God's promise to me. So I know that I'm receiving from God in every way. I'm being raw because women experience this every day in the collective. The resources and the lack of resources that are there. I luckily had jobs that I could refer to, that I could continue the legal payments and stuff. But anyone that's going through my similar situation of abuse and can't afford the lawyer, and then you have those that have title in the community, or their little masonry groups of sick power, gang stalking, whatever they're called, and why they do what they do, the corrupt things that they do. They do the back end work to make the legal stuff delayed. And I mean, it's bullying and it's discrimination on every level. It's fraud, it's occult crime, it's discrimination. Everybody involved is guilty. The gang stalking, the fake clients, the ones that were sent to me pretending to be clients, and then feeding that information back to those, the ones that were playing both sides, taking my work and feeding it back, and then having another business being built on the back end, and the doppelgangers that were supposed to look like me and seem like me and make videos. I mean, who knows all of this stuff that was done? Fake sex videos that were done and having people look like me. Who knows? It's just sick. It's a complete corrupt society, taking from one innocent person. How to damage one innocent person. The depths and the widths of what these people had done is undeniably wrong and corrupt. To me, one person. And who knows however many other people were involved. And that's what I've got to process every day. God shows me everything. I have to process that. And I'm so grateful for my ancestors and all the beings that have been protecting me. And so, dear lighted ones, share your stories. Be raw, be authentic, be genuine, be loving, be caring, be connecting, be honoring. When you stand in your truth, there's no other energy or entity that can throw you off. As hard as they might try to throw you off your whatever the agenda is to make you not be who you are, that's who you are, and that's what you can share for that future beautiful person that is also aligned with you, that's also standing in their truth, that will stand and speak their own triumphs, and they will stand and they will be courageous and say no in the face of the corrupt. And they will be that one that's standing. They'll be that one that does reach out. They'll be that one that does say, no, that's enough. Not one person did that. And there was a lot of people watching over the years that knew stuff was going on. Not one person did anything. And I'm asking why? Any of you, all of you, I want nothing to do with anybody ever, ever involved, ever. They all watched and they all knew what was going on and nobody did anything. And how much chaos, how much money, how much disorder, how much destruction was done, and nobody did anything. Nobody did anything. Is that oneness? Is that creating a beautiful, beautiful community that your children can feel safe in? And so for anybody that's watching that is going through anything similar, stand up and speak your truth and know that you have connections. Know that I can help you walk through what the steps are to take yourself out of those harmful situations and get back into something great, because you can. Your alignment with spirit is all that you need. So recall your power, recall your light, start creating a beautiful self-design program and design healing for you emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, and you can get back on the track of creating your beautiful life just for you, that's healing for you, that's nourishing for you in such a profound way. You really, really can. It's possible. All things are possible. And know that those in future now moments, I'm making this very, very clear. And as I've stated it on all my blogs and all my writing, I've been celibate and single for, about 13 years. I've been on my own, trying to sort out my energy, of course. I mean, everything that has been taking place has just been one tumultuous, shit show after another, complete unnecessary shit show that I've navigated through, and I've assisted myself in completing that processing, healing, and moving through in profound self-love and self motivation every day. I'm like, holy crap, am I a strong person? Like that guy said the other day, man, you should be given a trophy for what the fuck you've been through. Um, um, and I don't want a trophy. I want humanity to be balanced, because anybody that thinks that's normal is that's a lot of help that's needed. Crime and violence and corruption is just not necessary. Spell work is just not necessary. So share those websites and share emails. Send emails to those if you're feeling inspired, if you've ever been one that's been harmed by spell work. Anybody that thinks they have power over you, entitlement over you, that wants to thwart your destiny, switch your destiny, wants you to take on their karma. The level of ridiculousness and the misguidance, the immaturity of not even understanding universal laws for everything that was done just on my one experience was enough to fit into a whole book of how to shift the perspective of human experience on what to do and what not to do for those that want to move through the understanding of energy, understanding of what's going to really bounce back at you. How would anybody, and why would anybody do spell work if you're not doing it for balance? Even if you're doing an abundance spell work, you're having to pull that energy in from somewhere. So in any way that you want to create abundance, because that's all you want, there's still wounding there. And at any point, you're going to have to face all of your wounds of your lack. Abundance will be there as the more you love yourself. If you're doing anything of spell work that is not self-loving, self-nurturing, and healing to yourself, there will be imbalances, because you can't continually manifest abundance, abundance, abundance. That energy's got to come from somewhere, and it will create an imbalance somewhere. And then it affects even more if you're doing spell work that affects other people and you're intending to affect other people. So those people that are doing such things, click off, send them emails to say, why would you even be doing spell work? Do you know anything about universal laws? Do you know anything about hermetics? Understanding those that pay money, they're entangling and they're agreeing to karma, which is fine. It's all purposeful. You'll all learn. but just know and keep sharing, keep teaching, keep offering, keep inspiring, keep empowering. That's how we grow as a collective, by sending out higher vibrational integrity. This is not okay anymore. It's not okay. The whole corruption of magic, the whole corruption of energy, the whole swaying of the public, the swaying of the collective of energy is not okay anymore. Every day, reclaim your power. Every day, reclaim who you are. Every day, set out that self-design about who you are. What is your excitement to be here? Who are you? That is far more powerful, and nothing and no entity can touch you. No entity can throw you off. No entity can take from you. No matter how hard they try, Spirit will always make sure that there will be something just for you. Nobody has power over Spirit, and it's being shown right now. And I've been saying this for years, and finally people are starting to hear and listen. And that's just the way it is, and I've got to be okay with that. That's part of my frustration, because I don't understand. I don't understand any of it. I don't understand why any of it was even necessary to do what was done. The harm that's done to divine feminine, the ignorance, the level of ignorance on our planet towards divine feminine and disenfranchised. And I've got to level up, and I've got to be that highest level of benevolent, balanced teacher, healer, leader to bring forward these new highest vibrational teachings. But I've seen the darkest of it. I've experienced the darkest of it. And I'm saying from here on out, there will be nobody from my past that will have access to my energy ever again. So what they showed me is that these people that were contracted to test me in the various ways that Spirit wanted me to be tested, because that was part of my contract, just as Jesus, just as any world leader. This is why those of the 5D leadership will have to go through certain initiations. But the more that you know about yourself and just working with your own energy, you won't have to ever go through what I went through. So don't feel alarmed. Those of you, when I have classes of 5D leadership, I'm teaching you from the very darkest ways to navigate energy and entities of deceit and lying and manipulation. Those shapeshifters, the twisted ones, the ones that want to play in your energy, the ones that don't give a shit. I've dealt with those. And they're even seen in the public as very, very toward people, because that's just how good they are at it. And so, but now we're waking up and we can see through it, just as we are the other people that are in the social experience that are being shown who they are. And the governments that watch the certain channels that speak truth, and they're speaking vibrational truthness, and they're speaking vibrational alchemy because it's a true thing and it's our birthright. So they can't and they won't shut anybody down. You know, have the old conspiracy about the men in black and all of those silly little things. They don't mean anything. Nothing is, I'm fear of nothing. I've seen the devil in a million different faces. Bring it. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a collective fear. It's just a collective belief. It's just a collective story. And I know how to navigate it. I know to see truth, and I'll pierce right through it. That's truth. That's God. And that was part of the initiations. But in this collective, because remember, from the multiverse, there was different threads and stories that had to be in my story. Because again, we come from a very collective family that goes back to the very beginning of time in many of the universes. And it's threaded in those ways that certain stories had to be challenged because we're leveling up as a collective. Multiverse. And I'm a part of that multiverse. I'm a part of that lineage healing of the multiverse. I'm a part of that lineage wisdom breaking open to new wisdom barriers, if you will. And of the divine feminine has been the most imbalanced in this one galaxy for this one planet. And so I played a part. It was a very big part. And so in that, there was those tests and those initiations, those contracts that were equally given. I chose at a soul contract to contract with these beings to clear out those damaging wars from Orion, the draconian, reptilian wars. All of those wars I knew because I saw the timelines, and I helped clear those energies by not seeking revenge, by not creating any reverse magic. Because I can do that, but I choose not to. I choose to live from a higher vibration. That was my soul's purpose. I also know magic, but I use magic in a way that's just using the benevolence of love and light. That's what I use my magic for, is the benevolence of love and light. I understand balance. I understand that I don't do abundance spells 100,000 times a day, because somewhere it's going to create an imbalance. I know that. I know energy. I know energy. And people tried to play me like I was some idiot, vulnerable divine feminine. How dare they? How dare a divine feminine think she knows more than me? Those are the attitudes and those are the energies I got pressed back. I feel energy. And whatever government bodies and whatever YouTube bodies think that they can suppress me and put shadows on my accounts and whatever magic anybody thinks they're doing, it's being reversed right now as we speak. Watch spirit work. I swear to you, watch spirit work. And so in that, those contracts had to be done. Spirit said at a certain point, which was a while ago, the 3-month timeline, they said, okay, she's learned her lessons. Everybody has learned their lessons. Everything is being balanced out. Spirit had that plan to rebalance everything from all of the traumas that I had experienced, which they even said was even far more than I really needed to do. That I went far above my spiritual soul contract based on what I had walked through. Everybody was in awe of what I had walked through and survived. And I had come out the other side, which they told me with very few blemishes, which I was very proud about. I still haven't really processed that recognition in myself, because they always tell me that's one of my weaknesses, is to look at the profundity of what I've done and really take ownership and acclaim. So that's that self-appreciation. So I'm working on that every day. Because I haven't had anybody to do that for me or with me, and I've had no role models. So that's something I'm learning is divine feminine. I do it for other people. I recognize people's good points, but not everybody does it. And so again, it's just that reflection of nobody showing it to me and nobody giving it to me. There's been zero reciprocation that I've had on this planet. And so that's part of God's reward for me, is God will assure that happens and does occur. So a little while ago, God said, that's enough. Those contracts are over. Throughout the whole heavens, they had said enough is enough. This is shifting. That shift had taken place because those timelines were healed. And Spirit said that was enough, but the people kept continuing. And so their demonic little games had kept continuing. And they were not, and which that happened to me years and years and years ago. One time when I was living in Calgary, they had shown me an experience where they had crossed spiritual boundaries, and Spirit said I woke up one morning and Spirit said they had crossed the line again. So there's entities and there's beings that's just the games they play. They want to continue to get a reaction out of me. They want to continue to poke me. They want to continue to try and get my energy, the shape-shifting energies, the things that they do in these other vibrational realms, other universes, because they know how to pull energy and use it and use it from malevolent experiences. And then it's done on the physical level by those that you co-create with. And so I know all of those inner and outer games. I get it. But Spirit said and God said enough was enough a little while ago, and they just kept doing it. So there was even more further damage done that was completely unnecessary beyond the contracts that I had signed. That's when the abuse of power in all spiritual realms, physical, mental, emotional, and etheric, and that's when it happens in the physical realms as well, where enough is enough, it's overkill. And they just don't get the damage that they've done. Karma doesn't mean anything. And that's when the highest realms, the Arcturians, are responsible for those deep soul healings. Because it's a deep soul wound when you just don't care. All you want to do is make sure someone is proven wrong or not better than you. And those are deep lack of self woundings. And I know the psychology behind it, so I have compassion. And so those were some of the universal multiverse contracts that were playing out just in my one case. So it's important that you share our videos, because people are going through very similar things that are going to be going into collective leadership, and why they go through what they go through. Why, when you're speaking, you're having those really intimate connections with your karma board, with your soul guides, with your soul teams, and you're connecting with God and you're in alignment with God and making sure that God was the distributor of all karma. You don't have to worry about any of that. Just surrender, just keep working on self-love and making sure that you're continuing your own guidance with your source and your higher selves. Nothing else will be guiding you in those, social situations where there will be outbursts and unrest because systems are changing, and it's a whole new dynamic of divine feminine coming forward to heal. And there's going to be a lot of people that don't want that, and there will be resistance. And that's just normal. But when you understand the higher perspective and the bigger, grander view of it, and why we sign on for these contracts, because it's a multiverse threading that we're bringing in these energies, and there's only the energies of those lower 2 chakras in which they've only been shown the degradation of women. So they will be very staunched about it, and it's like a disease that women are just not equal. and because they have deep, deep, deep seated wounding. And so everybody is meant to look at who are they in that Adam Eve project, and what beliefs, what roles, what were you fed, what were you shown, how can you heal those as being one. Everyone has divine feminine masculine energies, everyone. Nobody is omitted from that process of evolution, of self, of love, of light, in your chakras, in your energy fields, in your belief systems, in who you are. There's not one person that will go through ascension that won't have to rebalance the divine masculine and feminine energies. That's what ascension is all about. So that you are completely harmonized as the mother and the father, so that you are acting as the innocent, sacred child, because you've healed all of those wounds. You're safe. You're creative. You're beautiful. You're loving. You're sacred. You have a voice. Your voice matters. You can see. You can think. You can go beyond. You can imagine the unimaginable. That's the divine sacred child. But first, you got to get through the minutia of all the wounding to be that sacred child. That is the multidimensional healing, because there's a lot of experiences that are wounded. And those experiences got to be healed. Otherwise, it happens in what I went through. I asked for a divorce, and all of a sudden it was like hell. And I got punished in different ways from different beings that I didn't even know. But boy, they sure did gather and try and create their schemes and the spell work to keep other people confused, and the spell work to keep other people from entrapment, and all the little blackmailing things that are done. Boy, oh boy, that's a great solid community there. Got to be proud about that. And so how can you go within and start healing that? Because that's not okay. When you have to blackmail someone to keep them in your story. So anything that's going on like that in any home, whether it's holding money over your head, holding resources over your head, making a divorce difficult, making a divorce delayed, anything like that, that, my friends, is abuse. It's manipulation so that you can maintain in their story. And that's not okay. You have your rights to be who you are. You have your rights to claim everything that you are and to be held safely and sacredly. I'm a very profound divine feminine leader. I'm a very profound divine feminine healer. I know who I am. I know energy. And I've been treated like shit. And I've learned how now not to. There's no access. Everybody from my past, there's no access. They're not even allowed to find me. No access. Vibrationally, spiritually, nothing. No access. The rules of engagement go through my lawyer. There's no access. Never will anybody from my past be allowed to return, ever. You have to heal through your higher self and through God. If you wish to propose anything, it has to go through God. I forgive all of you that are involved. You are released from anything. Work on healing yourself, as I've said for the past 3 years. Work on healing yourself. The same teachings, the same offerings, the same story. I am Joanna. I work for myself. I don't have a boss. I don't have a partner. I didn't give any agreements for my work to be used by anybody. I am a creative consultant only. I will not sign on to work with anybody in any partnership agreement or collaboration. I won't. I am a creative consultant. That is the only way that I will be hired. And there must be monies up front paid first, in agreement, viewed, and revised by lawyers from here on out. There has been no agreements, no permissions given by my work for my work in any way to use my content in any way. My work from 3D to 5D has been protected because it is my work. Anybody that has been using my work, that has been using my content and falsifying it in any way so that they can create their corrupt schemes and how they're presenting themselves in the world, they're dealing with the distribution straight with source. Everybody has been told, everybody has been shown, and everybody knows what they're doing. It's not child's play anymore. Everybody knows the chances and the choices that they've done, the time that they've had to make things right, the time that they've had to recorrect things. Everyone has known. And so that's my personal story out on the table. As a divine feminine, as a healer, as a teacher, and as a leader, and as someone that's here to help bring new systems. The future part of me, I see myself with somebody that is really profound and sacred, that would never do spell work on a divine feminine. I see myself with somebody that's honest and true. And they won't be anybody from my past. Nobody from my past will be coming forward into my future. There's a lot of healing. The dimensions are totally off. The alignments are not even there. It's just not even possible. So don't think anybody has a gateway just because they know me from a past. There's nothing. The gates are forever closed. And that's up to everybody to go heal and make right with their own higher selves and their own soul and God. And God will show you how to make it right by doing whatever you need to do to make it right for you. Because you're all released from me. My future will be with somebody different, new souls, new soul energy, new soul people that honor respect, that honor divine feminine, that honor the process of ascension, that honor Gaia, that honor good life, that honor truthfulness. I'm seeking those people of benevolent co-creation. And it won't be anybody from my past. I guarantee you that. They're not even going to be allowed in my space. So make that very much known. And I've said it a billion times. But so far, my voice doesn't seem to hold any clout with those that just want to take from me. As soon as they see that Joanna's getting something, boy, oh boy, let's see how much we can get in there. No, none of you have access. I owe you nothing. None of you have entitlement. None of you have earned anything from me. None of you have even been any of my friends. So none of you will receive anything, and God will make sure of it. Because that's your karma lesson, is for you to go and now see how you can use all the free resources that I've given and now go and make your own life. Because that's your karma, to seek it within yourself, which has always been the lesson. But it's had to be done the hard way. No matter how many times I said no, no matter how many times I said stop, now God is allowing you to face it for yourself. Because I will not be giving anything out. There will be no free access. There will be no free resources. And all those know who they are. I continually to give out to those that want to continue the beautiful, loving, healing perspective. I'm going to be a huge part in the collective healing, the collective learning, the collective expansion, new programs for healing, new programs for study on many of the multidimensional disorders. But I'm speaking my truth as a divine feminine that's been really fucked over. And the many systems that are out there, the many platforms that are going to be shifting overnight that will see my work, because the world is meant to see me, and nobody and no person, and regardless of whatever spells you think you can about the world not seeing me, none of that's going to work. And Spirit will show you. The corruptive, abusive times are now over. I will be seen and known in the world. I will stand up and speak my truth. I am meant to be seen. I am meant to shine like the star because I am. I claim my right to shine, my right to be seen, my right to be known. And nobody, no energy, no entity from this realm or any other universe will stop me. Because I know who I am now. That's the whole story. That's the catalytic opposition. I now claim my beauty. I now claim my brilliance. I now claim my genius. That, my friends, is who I am. I am Joanna. I come from a very sacred family. I'm just getting started. I am a creative genius. Watch me. And so, dear lighted ones, I'm so helpful. I'm helpful for all of you that have been in the same situations and found your way through. I'm always here for you, and you know that. My number and my information is below if you wish a private session. All energies will be scanned, and Spirit will send those to me that are of benevolence for me. My sessions and information are below. I'm going to be getting my Patreon channel back up and working again. And also our donation for PayPal is below for those of you that so desire. I love you so very much. I'm here for the divine feminine rebalancing. The entire of beauty of that Gaia is. I'm going to be working very closely with so many different avenues and prospects. There's so much that's going to be, coming out in the new season. So I really can't wait. Got so much on the back burner that we're going to be bringing forward now that so much healing has been done. I wanted to do a very raw session for all of those that have seen bits and pieces of my experience. Wanted to go a bit deeper because I know of the women that are struggling, and I know of this very profound time in human collective history where we are all as women standing up, whether you're in a male body or not, standing up to bring forward those very deep traumatic woundings that need to be faced and healed. When things are going on behind the shades, behind the doors, and it needs to be brought out. There's no more sitting on the fence anymore. There's no more of this precarious back and forth. There's no more tit for tat energy. It's over. It's over. And anybody that tries to play those games with you, you need to walk away quickly. Don't mix energies with anybody that plays pitting you against with other people to get them jealous, making up stories about you, the very immature ways that people play with energy. Move away fast. And that's all I can say. Move away fast and let them sort it out. Spirit will help direct them. That's what they're meant to do. Go within. Spirit will direct you. Nobody deserves to be held in abuse just because they want to play and be immature, because they want to feed their own ego. And no matter how many times I've said it, they're still doing it. They just don't get it. And it's not for me to handhold, like I'm in a playground of bullies. It's not for me to do that. Everybody has guides. It's been well known for quite some time. So it's time for everybody to grow up and level up and be discerning if you're a teacher, healer, and a leader. Know that you're going to have to align with universal laws. There's a lot of resources out there, but it's up to the divine feminine too to help start those resources, help start those support communities, because we're meant to be leveling up into new ways to help our community. And so that's what I'm imploring you, empowering you to do, because we're here to maintain and really take that mantle and that staff. We are beautiful, divine feminine. We're the most beautiful healers and teachers and leaders. So in that, dear lighted ones, I say goodbye and namaste. I love you so very much. Rainbow hugs and tickles. Bye.